guys, welcome back to the home and homestead. Today we will be doing a recipe using some of the tomatoes from our garden. I've been experimenting with recipes I found, and I think I came up with a combination that I really like for today's project of making homemade pizza sauce. So follow along and see how we put together some homegrown tomatoes with a number of herbs and spices, and we cook that down to make a nice topping for homemade pizzas. So when I do my pizza sauce, one area that I definitely don't skimp on is properly prepping the tomatoes. So for this recipe, I will be blanching the tomatoes, removing the skins so that the end product will not have any skins at all, have a nice smooth sauce finish. I will also be cooking the pizza sauce down in my Nesco roaster oven. You can also do this on the stovetop or cooktop for an extended period of time, but I wanted to free up my stovetop for other cooking today, so I will be using the roaster oven. So first off, let's get the tomatoes prepped and we'll start the blanching process. Okay, so what I mean by blanching the tomatoes is you'll take the tomato and take any stem portion off. Then I take my tomato core and I take the little core part out. Then I take a knife and I just gently score a little X on the bottom and put that into some boiling water. It'll stay in the boiling water for about 30 seconds or so. Then you put it into an ice water bath and the skin should peel right off. That way you won't have any tomato peel in your end product. In this case, the pizza sauce. It's a little extra step, but the end result is more favorable than having pieces of large tomato peel in certain things that you eat. Some things I don't mind it at all. For instance, if you watched my video on how to make the zucchini salsa, I don't do this step. But you certainly can. It's not very hard to do. Then you would end up with a salsa without any sort of skin to the tomato. So let's see how this one's looking. Put that in the ice water bath. I have two different types of tomatoes. I have Romas and Wisconsin 55s from our garden. If there's any part of the tomato that is blemished or whatnot, just cut that off. See, and the skin just peels right off. There. All right, so I'll keep working on these tomatoes. We'll get them all blanched and peeled and measured out, and we'll see how much I have to multiply the recipe that I have for this pizza sauce today. Now for the fun part. So you just go right in and mash up the tomatoes, and then that'll give you an idea of how much you have for measuring your tomatoes. And it just gives it a rough mash of the tomatoes for cooking as well. We'll add this to the roasting oven and we'll head over there and see what herbs and spices and things we'll add for cooking. Alright, so we ended up with about 4 quarts of tomatoes. So now we'll start adding the ingredients. I'll be doubling my recipe. So to double, normally would be a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, so I'll do a 1/2 cup of lemon juice, 4 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. And again, this is doubling the recipe right now. 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 6 teaspoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 6 teaspoons of canning salt, because we will be water bath canning this pizza sauce later, and 2 teaspoons of black pepper. And optionally, you can add 1 teaspoon, or since we're doubling, 2 teaspoons of basil, but I'm going to leave that out this recipe and see if I like it better. So it's at 350 degrees, and I'll mix everything together. And I'll let this cook down for probably 5 to 6 hours. Once it cooks down a little more, I'll go in with my immersion blender and get this nice and smooth like a sauce. Put the cover on and let this cook. I'll come back and we'll move on to the next step of prepping this pizza sauce. So the pizza sauce has been cooking for about 3 hours at 350 degrees. Every now and then I would go in and stir it a little bit. But now I'm going to use my immersion blender and blend up and puree this sauce for the final thickening stage of its cooking. So let me smooth and puree this down. Alright, I'm going to cook this down for another probably hour or two, and we'll check back and see if it's to the thickness and consistency that I want. Replace the lid here, and we'll let this cook. Alright, so it has been 4.5 hours total cook time. I would say for a small to medium batch, plan on 4 to 5 hours cook time, and a large batch, 5 to 6 hours cook time. And it's just the cooking it down to the consistency that you like. And I like a bit of a thicker sauce, so this is right where I want it to be. So now we'll get these into some canning jars and get them water bath canned. Alright, so we have some jars here. I have some 8-ounce and 4-ounce canning jars that I'll be using today. I thought I'd do the 8-ounce for if I'm doing a couple of pizzas, or a slightly bigger batch of items, and then I can do the 4-ounce jars for if I have an appetizer, or maybe just for a side of breadsticks, or a smaller pizza. Then all I'd have to open would be a smaller jar, and you wouldn't be wasting any sauce or anything. Trying to figure out what size jar, what size portion I would be most likely to use, and these are the sizes I'm thinking would be most beneficial for us. So you want to leave about a 1/2 inch head space. My canning funnel here, my canning ladle. Gonna get into all the corners. Get this sauce here. It's a nice, thick and hearty sauce. Very flavorful. It smells really good. All day when this was cooking down, it smelled like a pizzeria in here. It was making me hungry. So we got 3 1/4 pints out of this. Trying to see if I could do one 4-ounce. Not quite. I'll just put what's left in here and we'll stick it in the refrigerator. What I like about this ladle, you can really get it into the corners and get every last little bit of whatever you cooked. All right, so let's head over to the jars. We'll get them prepped for the canner. All right, so now we'll wipe down the jars. You want to wipe the top and the thread on the side. That just helps to ensure a nice clean surface for the lid and ring. It helps to ensure a nice seal. I just use a paper towel and water. So we have 4 8-ounce jars and 5.5 4-ounce jars here. Now for this little half jar, I'll just put one of these plastic lids on. They come in numerous colors. I like the white ones, and then the Ball brand I believe are gray. This is nice for if you have a little bit extra, you can just put in the refrigerator, or once you open something that you've canned and preserved, you can put this lid on for storing in the refrigerator until you use that up. So now we'll put the lid on, followed by the ring, just finger tight. The ring just holds the lid on while it's being processed, so then once it's cooled and the lid suctions down, that ring can be removed and used for other canning projects if you wish. There we go. Okay, now we'll head over to the water bath canner. All right, so we're at the water bath canner. Take the lid off here. We'll test the temperature. Good. We'll add the jars. So the pizza sauce has a 35-minute water bath processing time. That all depends on your altitude. So if you live at a higher altitude, you'll just follow the altitude guides that are in canning cookbooks and manuals, and may even have come with your canner to adjust your processing time. So let me get this lid on here. Set the timer for 35 minutes. And here's a good table showing the altitude chart I was talking about for boiling water method. Here's your altitude in feet. You would just adjust the processing time from the recipe, increasing the time as necessary based on your altitude. There's also guidelines for pressure canning as well. All right, we'll come back after the 35 minutes is up. Okay, so the 35-minute processing time is up for the pizza sauce, so we'll take the lid off, set it off to the side, and we'll let them sit in the canner for about 5 minutes, then move them over to the cooling area. All right, so the jars are over in the cooling and sealing area. It looks like a nice, spicy, and a beautiful, rich red color of pizza sauce. Let's take a closer look. So here's a closer look at the pizza sauce. I'm looking forward to using this with our homemade pizzas and for appetizers and dipping of breadsticks and mozzarella sticks. So watch for more videos on food preservation of garden items as they come in from harvest. I'll also be doing a 3-part series on how to preserve green beans. I hope you enjoyed our time together in the kitchen today making this homemade pizza sauce, and you can have a chance to make some homemade pizzas yourself. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. See you next time. Take care.